Yo, what it do, boys? We are back on the NBA cast yet again. It always seems like it's a long time coming every time we hop on this show. But this time we actually have a third guest with us today. I got my homeboy Trey Wicks, also known as LiftoffCounty Prep on Twitter. That's it, right?
Yeah, that's it. What I
That
do.
we
Host of the
welcome.
Film Doesn't Lie. Go check it out on YouTube under Liftoff County Prep.
That's right. That's right. That's a big time show and big time podcast. You guys definitely should check it out. Most of the time, I'm there with him as well on that one. But for those of you who do not know, that is his show, and we base it on watching high school highlight tapes, and it can range from the top ranked 5-star all the way down to a 3-star. He's a guy you may not have ever heard of, but when you put the tapes together and you just watch the tapes, no name involved, you never know who's who. It's crazy. So you guys definitely check it out. Um, with that being said, obviously you guys already know I can't do the show with the $18,000 kid. Steve, what it do?
What up?
Steve.
What up?
For those of you who cannot see this man Steven is wearing his Detroit Lions jersey. Man, it's
Of
uh
course.
he's a sicko for that one, but we'll let him slide.
We got kids in Africa wearing the same thing right now.
Jesus.
All right, with that being said, let's hop right into today's show. Today's show is going to be very interesting because we're going to be talking a lot about the NIL. And whether it's a good thing or it's a bad thing, I mean, it's going to be a lot of mixed reviews. I know a lot of people are against it, a lot of people are for it. But let's just start with what it is. A lot of people may not exactly know what NIL is and stands for. Trey, you want to take that one from me?
Right. So the origin of NIL comes back from the banning case back when there used to be a game called NCAA. We had basketball, football. At college athletes, they were supposed to be student athletes. So the student part of that means you're not professional, which means you can't make money. And so this video game was stealing their name, image, and likeness, and they got nothing out of it. So he blew the whistle on that, sued the gaming company in the NCAA, won, and now the whole can of worms is open. Kids can make money on it for endorsements off their name and really get their money's worth out of being an athlete in college and some in high school, depending on what state you're in.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy because with that whole ordeal, we ended up losing that video game for what, eight almost 10 years now. We're coming up on
RIP.
almost 10 years.
Yep.
They are bringing it back, so they said. So it's just a matter of time when it's all coming back. Like Trey said, then once they granted this motion, basically it just busted the doors wide open. These kids now can get paid for their likeliness, means they're now able to bring the game back as well. Um, so we'll start with you, Steve. Now that we kind of broke down what the NIL kind of means,
hmm
um, are you a fan of it? And if you are, and even if you're not, tell us why.
So I'm a fan of it for the kids because I think the kids should be able to make money off it. However, the where I'm kind of like I think it's a slippery slope.
Hmm.
Now you're getting kids who obviously are they're basically getting into bidding wars with teams
Yep.
because they're like, hey, this school can offer me this. Well, why would I go to your school when I could get almost double what you're offering over there?
Hmm.
Like, and obviously with the transfer portal, I think that's where this whole thing is like getting people not liking it. Is also the transfer portal just opened up to where kids can just transfer at will.
Yeah.
So when kids can transfer at will, and then you also have the NIL mixed with it, you're going to get kids who are probably still already in the school getting an NIL, probably threatening to basically leave if they don't get a better NIL because they know they could get it somewhere else.
We already see that happening.
Yes, because and I just saw something today. It's a rumor. Don't know how
How
whatever
true it is.
how true it is. Yeah. So Jordan Addison, one of the top receivers out of Pitt, it's rumored that he's transferring to USC. and he's going to be getting an NIL deal that's close to $3 million, which is more than a second round pick in this year's draft.
Yeah, and that is the craziest thing, and that's where I'm before I even get into it, I'm gonna go ahead and go on record and I'm gonna say I'm a fan of it. I'm all for the chaos, to be honest with you.
I feel like there has to be a cap.
Yeah. But the thing is, how can you tell someone
to make it like a almost like a salary cap in the NFL, but you got to have a cap.
Yeah, but how can you tell someone how much their image is worth? Like if the quarterback at Alabama, he's a star, he's bigger than Tom Brady in Alabama. So how can you tell him how much his name is worth out there? That's the only thing I can say. That's the only thing I have a problem with.
Yeah, I mean, and at the end of the day, I mean, just like in the NFL, you're only worth as much as someone's willing to pay you.
Exactly.
Right.
So I mean, I get it. Like I said, I like it for the players.
Mm-hmm.
I want the players to get as much as they can, but at the same time, it's ruining the college football landscape in my mind.
Absolutely. So, like you said, there's rumors out there. There's rumors out there about a bunch of kids. My problem is when you're recruiting them and there's already a deal made.
Right.
Because now you're putting. Yeah. Now you're basically saying the only reason why I'm going to school is for money.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the best education, not about the best fit, not about this is going to get me to the place I need to be. It's just strictly money. When you're giving a kid who and setting him up with terrible expectations, when you got $8 million contract, and what if he doesn't deliver? What if you bring in a 3-star or a transfer quarterback and beats him out? You get rid of that contract because the $8 million is over 4 years. Do you tell him give you some of that money back? What do you do? Because they're not just going to take that loss.
Yep, that's where it becomes a slippery slope. Because just like you said, like obviously the 5-star recruits are going to get the bigger NIL deals coming out of high school because of basically the hype. They come into college with all this hype, and if they don't exceed expectations, I mean, like you said, a 3-star could just swoop in, and then if he beats him out, where does that money go? Are they going to basically say, hey, we're going to cut ties with you, we're going to give it to this kid, or what are they going to do? And then
that's
obviously the other kid who just made all that money is going to be like, if you guys are cutting ties, I'm out. He's going to transfer.
Right. But that's the thing. And that's where it's so hard to draw a line with this going on right now. Like this NIL is so broken wide open so early. I don't even know if you can even find a way to draw a line, because it's just like Trey was saying. So these guys are getting these NIL deals literally as soon as they sign that letter of intent. They already have spoken to a school about that NIL deal already. Like that's already
even though they're not supposed to.
Even though they're not supposed to, but you already know that's what the case is. So how can you stop that?
Yeah.
Like, what will be the plan to go forward with you? I don't know.
You have to have on every visit or every conversation has to be documented, or someone has to be watching it. There has to be more policing, and at that point, what's the point?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think what really killed it is the fact the transfer portal's there too.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with the less restrictions on transferring now, because remember when you transferred, you had to sit out a year, and now you don't. I mean, you get kids who are transferring 2-3 times within like 4 years.
So another thing that's coming up soon, NCAA is talking about deregulating a lot of stuff like scholarship limits.
Oh.
So they're going to be able to just sign however many kids?
Right, and whoever
Exactly.
It's no way.
Gonna work?
It's no way. It's no way, bro.
I haven't seen that yet. I haven't heard anything about that. But if that's true, I don't know how that's going to work. So what? You're going to have like a whole bunch
Emmett's going to be
walk-ons?
stepping down in the next year. So the Pandora's box is about to be reopened again.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And basically, like, the biggest thing with this NIL thing is compensation for the players.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't know this, but if you went to University of Alabama, you were already getting paid.
Right.
You had stipends. You had, of course, under the table payments. Now they're just getting paid out in the open.
Mhm.
And it's just schools like, where does the lines fall with schools like Oregon, Steve? Where Nike.
Yeah, we got Nike.
Exactly.
Right,
Where Nike.
right.
I'm a Nike school, but now Nike's going against me recruiting kids. Do
Yeah.
I drop Nike and go find my own brand?
I don't know. I think they benefit way more by keeping Nike on at that point, but I get what you're saying.
Because if Nike's recruiting against me, and schools like who haven't even tapped into that resource like Maryland,
Right.
when do they come up?
Yep.
Well, the thing is, with Nike is obviously Phil Knight. Phil Knight's an Oregon alum, so Phil Knight is going to want to. He's getting up there in age, so he's going to want to see an Oregon championship sooner than later.
So you're waiting to open up that bag, basically.
So he's probably going to open that bag soon. He really is. I'd be shocked if he doesn't.
All right. Well, okay. Well, let me ask you guys this: with this NIL opening up, do you think it could draw schools closer together? Like, can we see
More
teams
parity?
started? Yeah. Do you think we can start seeing more teams become more like Clemson? Become, or you think you could totally separate them?
No. So here's the thing: you can buy as many kids as you want. We see Texas A&M. We talked about it on our show the other day, Mark, on Film Doesn't Lie. We talked about Texas A&M. They can buy as many kids as they want. It doesn't matter anything if you can't develop them. Texas, you look at the draft this weekend. Texas and Texas A&M buy as many kids as they want. They're in one of the most talent-rich states, and they have the fewest draft picks.
Yeah, Texas didn't have anybody.
Exactly. Nope. And Texas A&M have, after they beat Bama. They're supposed to be title contenders every year. Jimbo's supposed to be this amazing coach. 4 draft picks. LSU 6-16, 10 draft picks. So what is that telling you? Developing isn't happening. You can bring in as many Dalvin Cooks as you want. If Dalvin Cook isn't developing, then he's not going to get it done.
Yeah, that's true.
And now these kids, rankings matter now. Remember, guys, host of the show, Film Doesn't Lie. I don't believe in rankings. I believe in the film.
Right.
Correct.
So rankings matter now because now the ranking is based on how much money you can get off your NIL.
Yep.
Yeah. Now.
If I'm the 3-star running back out of Maine, I'm not going to get a bunch of love. I'm not going to get a bunch of offers and stuff like that as far as money goes. I may go on a couple visits and be like, yeah, we'll talk about the NIL when you get here. But when you're that 5-star running back from Orlando, Florida, and you go on campus at Florida State, Miami, the first thing they're talking is money.
Yep.
How much money I can get you.
Yep.
Oh, don't worry. We'll get you $2 million. There's a quarterback out there right now that everyone's after. Oregon, LSU, Texas A&M, everybody. And he's going on visits. And if the team can't reach his number, he's dropping him off his list.
That's crazy.
So he just had 2 teams. As soon as he left campus, all of a sudden they have quarterback commits. So that's what the NIL is controlling the landscape right now, which is the problem. It shouldn't be controlling it. It should be a part of it.
Now I know this isn't every kid. Every kid isn't all about the money. Exactly. I mean, let's get that clear. Not every kid is about the money. But yeah, for those kids that are just trying to take advantage of the NIL, that's when it's going to be a problem.
It shouldn't be the end all be all.
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't at the end of the day, because let's face it. Again, back to what you were saying, developing. If you don't develop while you're at school, then you may not get drafted.
Right.
And I mean, that's why they want the NIL too, so these kids can
have a chance.
Money
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, but that also goes into a question that I was also wondering. So with the whole NIL thing, 2 questions. Do you think that kids should be able to come back to school if they don't get drafted? And then the other question is, do you think the NIL, like if a kid is told they're going to be, like a 4th, maybe 5th round draft pick, like you'll get drafted, but it won't be that high. Do you think with the NIL that they'll be willing to stay another year?
You want to go ahead, Mark, or you want to let me start?
I'll answer the questions and then I'll let you jump into it. For your first question, do I think if they don't get drafted, do I think they should be able to come back to school? That's another thing that I will say that could be a slippery slope and it can get ugly real fast, because at that point you gotta realize now you're taking away from the next kid. Now you're getting rid of, and that's something they're already complaining about, how the transfer portal is basically free agency. So because they're still in scholarships. So now you got, if you're gonna allow those guys to come back just because they didn't get drafted, it's a good question, and I wouldn't be against it, but I think it could go left real fast. And for your second question, I think, I think, yeah, we're gonna see a lot of changes when it comes to the NIL. So it's so new and it's so open right now that anything can happen. So I'm gonna let Trey go ahead and hop in on that.
Okay. So personally, I think you should be able to come back, because you can't say the agent thing anymore, because now with NIL they have agents.
Right.
Exactly.
So that's out of the question. If you don't get drafted, then why not let them come back? You may not be able to come back to the school you originally were at because they maybe replaced you or filled a scholarship.
Okay, right. I was
and
saying.
Then you gotta figure out what you're gonna do. You could go undrafted free agent. You can go back to school, finish your degree, or you can find a new school, figure that out. And with your second question, it hasn't affected it yet. LSU had a bunch of guys that actually left for the draft and that were that 4th through 6th range.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them got picked actually, but it depends on what the school's NIL can do. When you got schools like Texas out there saying, if you're offensive lineman, you come here, you get $100,000 automatically every year. Then you might look at that and be like, okay, I stack that on top of another NIL deal, on top of another one, and maybe that's worth staying at Texas.
Right.
Or if you don't have that, you're like, I'll just take my chances with undrafted free agency and see what I can get from there. Because an undrafted free agent in the NFL still makes almost $300,000 to $700,000.
Yeah.
So that's still life-changing money for a lot of these kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Even if you just make a practice squad. And that's worth the risk.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like it changing anything, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it. Maybe as time goes on and NIL still start to take more control of college football, we'll see that happen. But as of yet, more kids are worried about who's coming out right now versus what NIL I can get right now. Because I can tell you there's a lot of running backs that tried getting on this draft because there wasn't a top 1st round running back in this draft. Like there will be next draft with Bijan Robinson.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's so new and it's so broad right now that we still got to get the kinks worked out, because there's so many question marks, and it's a way, and I'm waiting to see it happen, but it's a way for these power schools to come in and just totally take over and just leave everybody in the dust. And if they figure it out sooner than later, before we can start implementing different rules, it can be a 5-6 program league.
Yeah, but if you think about it, though, it kind of has been close to. It's been like maybe 10 teams a season that can compete for championships.
Let's be
for
honest.
the past like 3 or 4 years.
Let's be honest. The only people competing for championships are in the SEC. That's been the way it's been for 20 years now.
I mean,
And
Clemson had a good run. I mean,
they had a couple.
they had a quote unquote down year, and they won what 10 or 11 games.
10
Okay,
games, yeah.
So let's check the last 20 years. Last 20 years, Bama has what, 6? LSU has 3.
I didn't
went
say
to 4.
I said competing for championships.
Who cares about competing for championships? It's all about winning the championship.
Obviously, but to win it, you got to get there.
Listen,
and that's
I'll take the LSU 2019 championship every time, and even with these last 2 seasons over competing. I'd rather be LSU than Ohio State right now.
Nah, but this is where I say it could separate himself, because when the NIL came in, and yeah, basically we can give a guy $2 million off front over a 4-year span. Obviously, that's your top guys. That's going to be your guys that 9 times out of 10 you suspect is going to be that generational talent player, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, in order for a team such as, let's say, when Auburn won and when they had Cam Newton, that was a generational talent that they had to have. When Florida State was winning, they had Dalvin Cook, who was a generational talent that they had to have. I mean, I'm not going to go as far as to say Jameis was a generation talent, but he was still such a huge talent that you have to have those guys. Let me ask you guys this: do those kind of guys are with the NIL? Do you think those kind of guys will still be able to find some place like a South Carolina, or hell, even a Miami? You think even a team like Miami that's still kind of up and away, they're still trying to figure themselves out? Do you think we can even compete to get a generation talent to get a ring?
I mean, again, this goes back to like the NIL being. I don't know, how does it work as far as money goes? Like, can anybody can like a booster just, if they're like super rich, can they just be like, hey, I want to give like 20 million to this kid? Or I mean, obviously 20 million is a lot, but you get what I'm saying. Like, can they just offer a kid?
So they have to it has to at least be something presentable. It's not like, hey, here's $20 million, let's go.
Right.
Pack your stuff, we're going to College Station, Texas. No, it's more like, I'm a let's say a restaurant owner of Cane's.
Mm-hmm.
I own my own Cane's location. Yo, take a couple pictures with me. Yep. I'll give you $100,000 right now, and that's it. Name, image, likeness. Okay, and so basically, like, the rules are boosters aren't supposed to be involved. We know they are. We know they are, but they're not supposed to be involved
for
directly.
Years. Before NIL, they've been involved. Everybody knows
it.
Right. But they're not supposed to be involved directly with NIL, but we all know they are. So basically what's happening is they're starting these groups that find these opportunities for the athletes. Like Bryce Young has a deal with some kind of airline. I've seen Kayvon Thibodeau before he went to the NFL had like Dr. Pepper and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And basically what's happening is the agency, basically like any agent, like you have a sports agent, and they're going to find you the best NIL deals out there. And of course the university is going to help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So here, give me this. Let's say I'm a rich guy and I just go to, I don't know, a car dealership or something, mm-hmm. and just say, hey, if I give you such and such amount of money, do you think you guys could get this kid sponsored for like an NIL deal?
If you go look back at Oklahoma 2000, when Adrian Peterson was there, mm-hmm. that already happened. They've been doing that. They said quarterback Brett Bomar, 5-star quarterback, complete bust. Mm-hmm. They said he worked there and he made almost $300,000 detailing cars a year. So this has been going on for years. It's no secret what's going on out there.
Yeah, but that's basically what it is, Steve. They're just getting used for their likeliness. Take a couple pictures. Even I seen Al Blaze Jr., the corner from Miami, was in the Bud Light commercial. Just looking like a regular guy. So, mm-hmm. I mean, it still has to be some substance to it. It can't just be a booster coming out of nowhere and being like, "Yo, here's I'm gonna give you $50,000 a year, just because I have it. No, it has to be it has to be like some kind of company or a firm or something behind it, you know.
Mm-hmm. But that's what I'm
So
saying. What, like, because I mean, most companies, if you go, hey, I'm willing to give you this such and such amount of money if you guys can get this kid. If you could get this kid, I mean,
well,
who's
that
gonna say no?
it goes to the kid.
Mhm.
It's not that it's going through the school. It's going to the kid, and that's like I said, it's a thin line because yeah, they can say that, but
Exactly.
again,
That's
So
why it's a very slippery slope.
so
right?
here's the thing.
That's
So
why it's a very
when you look
slippery
at
slope. Because
some schools that are recruiting really well right now, let's say Tennessee.
Yep.
Tennessee has one of the best donors in the country. An NFL owner is a big donor at Tennessee. He owns all the Flying J's and pilots.
mm-hmm.
Mm.
And guess what? Tennessee just got a 5-star quarterback.
Yeah.
Tennessee hasn't had a 5-star quarterback since the days of Eric Ainge, T.
Mm-hmm.
Martin, Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden they got a 5-star quarterback.
Yeah, and what have they done recently for any quarterbacks?
For
But
real.
there's rumors out there that
But
5-star
Josh
quarterback.
Dobbs is in the NFL, man.
Get out of here. He's known for being smart and working at NASA these days.
Exactly. He out there in Brevard. Shout out to
Come on.
Brevard. But so basically it comes down to what's your end goal? Is your end goal just to make it to college and get this NIL deal and that's it? Is that your peak? Or are you trying to make it to NFL and get the real money?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you this. This is the real question. He comes in $8 million, right?
Yep.
He gets beat out, just like we talked about earlier.
Yep.
Now, we already talked about him losing his deal. Now, let's talk about the other kid who now you have to restructure his NIL.
Right.
Or he says, I'm
exactly.
out.
Yeah.
Not,
or how about
waiting.
this? Because they have to sign a contract for these deals.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
So
it's legally
instead
binding.
of giving it to another kid and stuff, who's to say that the kid that just got beat out doesn't do like a buyout?
So I've actually talked to my dad about this. So basically, other schools could basically buy out the kids out their contracts now.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So then that'll be part of their new NIL deal is that money they can use to buy out their other contract. And the second thing is they can't do the contracts based off performance.
Right.
So that's a slippery slope.
That's a very slippery slope, and that's why they're going to have to restructure the NIL stuff. They're going to, or else the league or college football is just going to get ugly.
Of course. Now we did already kind of stuck a toe into it. This was in basketball though. Isaiah Wong, the guard that plays for Miami. Yep. We all know he's a top 2 player on the team. It ended up coming out saying it wasn't him, it was the agent. But either way, it was a big rumor flying around that he was like, well, I need my NIL deal restructured because I'm clearly a top player. I want to get paid like a top player. And it came out saying he didn't say that. But either way, that was like a taste. Like what if a kid actually did do that and stand behind that? Then like Trey said, at that point, now it's based on performance, and at that point, you run in the NFL in college.
So and the only difference though is instead of holding out and waiting to get traded, they could just say, "I'm out.
I'm transferring."
And just go
right.
straight to the transfer portal.
That's what needs. We keep on talking about NIL regulation. It's the transfer portal that needs to be regulated.
Okay, then that might be it.
That the transfer. If you do that, it starts to limit the NIL stuff because these schools are becoming feeder programs.
Yep.
Pittsburgh is becoming a feeder program for USC. LSU is a feeder program for Alabama.
Yep.
You got people going from schools in the same division to the other school. Mm-hmm. It's crazy out there. So
I mean, look at the wide receiver from Louisville, the speedy guy.
Exactly. Alabama just got signed 6 or 7 wide receiver recruits. And now they got 2 transfers, 2 of the top transfers in the transfer portal. Jermaine Burton and that Harold kid out of Louisville.
Yep.
So again, I'm questioning Alabama's development lately because they're starting to slip. They didn't have as many NFL draft picks as they usually do. No. They're relying a lot on the portal lately because Jameson Williams is from the portal as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I'm starting to question their wide receiver development ever since those. I think them boys they had, the nasty boys, Waddle, Judy, Devontae Smith, and Ruggs, they ruined Alabama because it just seems like they don't know how to develop wide receivers anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They just go take everyone else's because they were after Kayshon Boutte. And guess what happened? Kayshon Boutte got a nice new deal, got a nice new car, and he's happy at LSU again.
Yeah.
See, and that's the thing. And then it's still staying on Alabama. Like you was just talking about how they got 2 of the top wide receivers in the transfer portal. Then they also got the top back in the transfer portal.
And who's nice,
bro? We all said that though. Like we all said, Jahmyr Gibbs was like Pickens was at Georgia. Like he was a Ferrari in a trailer park home. Like he was the best player on the team, and he just gets up and just walks away and just goes to Alabama.
Yep. So yeah, it's basically the portal and the NIL stuff. The reason it's so bad is because it's the portal needs to be restricted, but same with the NIL.
Well, yeah, because right now it's kind of they work kind of hand in hand though.
Exactly.
It does exactly. That's what I'm saying.
If you limit one, the other is going to be affected.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying you're on a slippery slope when you mess with NIL and you say you can only make this much because college football is $1 billion industry. How are you going to tell me that my name isn't worth this much when I got the Heisman?
Mm-hmm.
I'm the top player in the country. Everyone's coming to see me. They're wearing my jersey number in the stands. They're chanting my name. And you're going to tell me I can only make $3 million?
Right.
So I think if you figure a way to get that transfer portal under control, then all you have to do is figure out the recruiting part of it, and you're straight. Because right now you can't have a kid holding teams hostage.
And that was where I was going to come to you guys next. Do you think we could see a salary cap kind of be involved here? And hold on, when I say it that way too, I mean maybe a salary cap based on I don't know. It could be based on a freshman can only make this amount of money. I guess not, because you can't.
Because when Caleb Williams steps on campus, who am I to tell him he's a superstar quarterback? He got like 3 million followers. That wide receiver at Texas A&M right now, he's one of the top TikTokers in TikTok. Who am I to tell him how much he can make on his platform?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's why I said it's hard to mess with NIL. The only way you can unravel NIL is by completely getting rid of it, and that's out of the question at this point.
Yeah. That's not.
You can't just bring it in and then just
exactly.
Get rid of it
that's the only way you can regulate it right now, because it's so hard to tell someone what their name is worth, and that's what the NCAA has always been scared of. That's why they've been holding this back for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Because they worry about their bottom dollar. This still doesn't affect the NCAA's bottom dollar either. This isn't money coming out their pocket. This is money coming out of businesses' pockets. Right. They're still not paying players yet.
No.
So that $3 billion that the SEC made last year is all for the SEC, not for the players.
Right.
So they don't care.
Yeah, because that had nothing. Yeah, that, like I said, their NIL money comes out of the backing that they have from those sponsors, from that firm, that company, and that's why I'm like, I don't think the NIL is ever going to go anywhere now. I think it's here to stay. It's stuck.
Got to adapt.
So, and obviously same with the transfer portal, but which one? Because remember the transfer portal with all the lesson of the restrictions and stuff, that's fairly new too. That just happened in the last 2 years.
Yeah. It is.
So, I mean, and then obviously the NIL just happened. So which one, how many years of both being just open do you think we're going to get before we finally get some restrictions to it?
At least 5.
Yeah, 5.
5 more or 5?
At the 5-year mark where you've had it open for 5 years, you've seen what the shortcomings are, what the the good part of it is, and you can figure out what to do from there. Right now, all we're seeing is kids making big money, making decisions based off that money.
Yeah.
And kids we're going to see how Texas A&M is going to be the experiment. We're going to see what happens when all you do is get a bunch of me players and you just throw money at them.
Yep.
Because they may not fit. Because Jimbo's offense sucks.
Yeah.
Tell us how you really feel, Trey.
Yeah. I mean,
it is what it is. His offense is outdated. They're wide receiver killers. The last wide receiver to get drafted out of there is what, Christian Kirk, 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, but I mean, did they have like a great quarterback? Because they went through how many quarterbacks last year? Didn't they go through like 2 or 3?
You gotta remember, Killa. They had at one point they signed like the number 1 quarterback 3 years in a row.
Yep.
All of them transferred out.
Yep.
They don't develop there. They're so worried about just getting the talent in because that's what happened at Florida State. And guess what happened at Florida State? They're dog poop now.
Yep.
He doesn't build teams the correct way.
And let's before we get even too carried away, I'm gonna even go as far as to say is before NIL, the transfer portal was effective. I think it worked. I didn't
see. I wasn't a fan of that. I wasn't a fan of it because I'm seeing too many kids transferring. Okay, here's the thing. I don't think you should be able to transfer 4 times in 4 years.
But no. Yeah, and that was the thing. That was the only gray area. Was some situations were being granted without having to sit, and it'll be something stupid like a kid will be transferred because he wasn't getting no play time. Let's just take that for example. Tate Martell.
Yep.
And he didn't have to sit out a year. But then you have a kid that is transferring because his mother or somebody passed, so he wants to transfer back home, and he had to sit out a year. That was the
I think Illinois kid or something like that.
Yeah, but that was happening more times than not. So that is the only thing I think they had to figure out because they had a huge area where it was like, what are we doing here? Because if that kid can transfer because he can't play, and this kid can't transfer back home.
Yeah, they're letting the kid with the big name not have to sit, which is just stupid.
And that's
you can't do that.
But you said, that was only 2 years of being in the transfer, us having the transfer portal. So we had to give it some kind of time. You have to give it time to see what you need to improve on, like Trey was saying. So that's why in about 5 years, because you have to give it time. You have to see what works, what doesn't work, how it's going to get weeded out, because a lot of stuff actually may correct itself, which again goes back to what Trey was saying, that Texas A&M is going to be the biggest key because all they're doing is throwing so much money, and they're doing it in one position. That's the craziest. They're really throwing so much money in the defensive line. They already, like Trey said, they already tried that in the quarterbacks, and those guys got the hell out of there. Yeah. So now we need to see if the same thing happens with the D lineman, and if it does, now I think that it might start correcting itself, because then kids will be like, dude, I wasted a year here. Yeah, I got this money, but I could have got this money somewhere else, and I could have played there.
Yeah. So the only thing for me the transfer is hurting is high school recruits.
Yes.
I can tell you from personal experience, because my little brother is in the transfer portal right now.
Mm-hmm.
He gets more looks than he did coming out of high school because he's already a college athlete. They already know what he is, what he's going to do in college. Whereas you're taking a gamble on a high school recruit. Yep. And that's also 4 years. And something on that. Schools like the SEC schools, your scholarship is year to year. They may force you into the transfer portal.
Yep.
People don't know this. SEC, your scholarship is year to year. You don't perform or you don't develop like this they think you were, they tell you, go ahead, put your name in.
Go ahead and enter. Yep.
That's why it's like that. So you'll see kids, you'll be like, he's in the transfer portal? Mm-hmm. He just got there.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. But when you go to an ACC school, you're guaranteed 4 years. It's a guaranteed 4-year scholarship. So personally, if I'm a 3-star recruit, I'm going to ACC if they're recruiting me. But these kids, they see the NFL draft. You go to SEC, you go pro.
Yep.
It's almost, I'm not going to say it's like 100% guaranteed, but it's higher than every other conference.
Man, it's almost 100% guaranteed, because that tight end, how did that?
I don't know. That confused me.
How he get drafted? He was like the backup.
He's a first string.
bro, he was drafted over a guy. I know it's like obviously a different position, but I mean, me Trey, we can speak on it. Let's take Jay Sean for instance. He was a starting running back at a big time school, and this year he
That one
had
hurt me.
he had a great year this year. He showed how explosive he was, and he led the team in total yards from scrimmage, and he didn't get drafted. But we got a guy that played at Georgia, and he didn't play. He didn't play
He
at all.
didn't
He
play.
got drafted in the 6th round. That's what I'm like.
That
It's
that
dumb.
one is more as much who you know as opposed to what you know.
Yeah,
Right.
So
look at
but-
since we're talking names in the draft. Verone McKinley, safety out of Oregon.
well,
Like,
it's Oregon. He's probably soft.
He led the league. He was
I know,
either
I'm
one or two
playing.
in the league in picks.
I know.
And then on top of that, he had several forced fumbles and fumble recoveries. And I mean, he didn't run the greatest in his pro day or combine, which obviously
That's a common theme I'm
Yeah.
seeing. When you play skill position and you're not in that high percentile at your position, it hurts you a lot nowadays.
A lot.
Because
Yes, it
everyone
does.
everyone understands. You watch them wide receivers before they adjusted all them times. They were running 4.3s, 4.3s,
Yeah.
4.3s. I got a safety running at 4.7. He ain't going to do it.
Yeah.
Not
No.
anymore.
Nope. Yeah, because
Especially if he's not 6'3", able to cover Mike Evans.
the whole
Mhm.
Oregon, we texted, so I told you about this, but the whole Oregon team at like the combine and pro day pretty much ran in the 4.6s,
Mhm.
which is at skill positions, safeties, running backs, receivers, all that.
Corners. Yeah.
Like, and obviously Oregon only had one player drafted, and obviously it was because combine and pro days.
Yeah. That's been the thing. Yeah, combine now is taking over.
Mhm.
Like if you can go in the combine and you can ball out, you can
Christian
literally you can literally shoot yourself up a couple rounds.
Yeah, you can.
Like it's
And
insane.
one name that was pretty interesting. I thought he'd be drafted a little earlier. He was a combine warrior at the combine. Tariq Woolen out of UTSA. He was a
Mhm.
corner. He was
The
6'4",
corner, yeah.
200 something pounds, ran a 4.26. I thought for sure he'd be a day 2 pick.
The only thing you got to think about with corners, hips. Someone that tall, you got to
Right.
worry about his hips and flexibility and everything. Because I would think when you told me 6'4", I'm thinking safety at that point.
I mean, you can maybe move him to safety. I don't know. I mean, he's only been playing corner for a few years, I think they were saying.
And that's another thing. If you look at Christian Harris from Alabama, he was a heat-seeking missile at Alabama. He fell in the draft because he's only been at the position for so long. He's not the premium height and size and everything. He did everything. He's one of the best cover linebackers in the draft, but he fell all the way to 4th, 5th round because he's still learning the position. And you don't have high enough upside.
At that point, I feel like your coaches got to be sold on being able to develop them.
Yes.
And if they feel like they can, then you would draft them earlier. If they feel like it may be like a little question mark, you may draft them, like you said, 4th, 5th, maybe 6th round.
Now with that though, which I do a lot of training, with these younger kids, and the one thing I always tell them is, once you get to high school, those coaches don't have time to teach you. At that point, by the time you get to high school, you should know how to play the game of basketball. At that point, they're teaching you how to play their system, and that's just on high school level. You think the NFL, once you get to the NFL, they expect a certain level of production from you.
Yep.
You should know how to do this, this, and this. So I wouldn't go as far as to say the coaches have to develop you in the league. You don't get developed. You have to go in there. You have to work, and you have to learn their system, and you have to adjust your game to their system. That's just, it is what it is. Or you gonna get that phone call saying come to the principal's office. So that one's a little bit different.
Listen, all I gotta say is, I'm happy we can finally stop hiding all this money in McDonald's paper bags and telling kids, "Oh man, you forgot that your duffel bag back in the room got $10,000 in it."
Right.
That
Yeah.
Florida State. Ain't saying no names though. This is going. It's a new landscape, and everyone just has to adjust. Because
Okay.
Nick Saban's already adjusted. He's filling holes, taking 5-star recruits from other teams, filling the holes.
He's complaining about it, but he's adjusting to it.
Exactly. That's what he does.
Marcus said he thinks it's good for college football. Correct?
Yeah, I think he.
What about you, Trey?
I don't think it's good for college football, but it is college football now, so you just have to deal with it.
Yeah, I'm basically with Trey. I think it's good for the kids, but bad for the sport.
It's terrible seeing you can make a super team now. And all you have to do is throw money, you can make a super team. Texas A&M's doing it through the recruiting. Alabama's doing it through the portal.
Yeah, it's going to be.
But see, now in college, it goes back to what y'all were saying. In college, yes, those guys got to develop, or they won't win. Texas A&M ain't winning. They ain't winning nothing. So it don't matter. Right now, it don't matter, at least.
But the thing is, you're holding back these kids now. You got
all these kids making the decision.
They are, but they're also 18 years old, and they have people behind them just seeing dollar signs.
Right.
True.
Right.
When instead of looking at fit, Jimbo just got a new defense coordinator. Elko's gone. He's at Duke now. He's the head coach. We don't know how they're going to look.
No, you have no clue.
But you just signed, with no questions asked, you just signed 5 of the top defensive linemen, had kids reclassified, who was the number 1 recruit in the class, had him reclassified to 22, and now you have to develop them. They don't even know what they're walking into.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm 100% sure in the next year or two, you're gonna see 3, 4, 5 of those guys get out of there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because College Station ain't the greatest place to hang out anyway. So, at least Georgia, Athens is at least a dope college town. College Station though, yeah.
Yeah, and that's I think that's the way it just goes back to what we were saying. You just gotta give it time, and we have to let things kind of play out. And like Tracy, I think about 5 years is fair before we start seeing changes, like actual changes to the NIL rule book itself. Like you said, I mean, they might do some changes to the transfer portal because the transfer portal is a little further advanced, but to actual NIL, I don't think we're going to see anything.
So something we didn't cover. We're also going to have to watch how the taxes work with all this.
Yeah.
Are these kids going to have to file their taxes? Because they jumped into a whole different tax bracket.
Yep.
Because I think we might see some recruit who's like, okay, I'm going to see if I can get away with it and try to do some tax evasion stuff. And now his career is over.
Now, I do think with that, if the colleges already haven't started doing it, they're gonna have people do their own taxes. They have to. People they're gonna have people do.
Yeah, they're not gonna have the kids do it.
There's no way.
Hopefully,
they're gonna have somebody there to do it.
Yeah.
You're saying this like they're smart enough to do it. Colleges again, they don't care.
They don't.
True. You're just bringing money into them. You're not affecting their bottom line at all. Alabama's going to find another. They just proved it. They're going to find another running back.
Yep.
Yeah, but like you said, the NIL deal isn't through the school, right?
So it's through the school, but not the boosters.
Right.
But the school's not paying them. They're finding you deals with different companies.
Well, then the companies are probably going to file it for the kids.
You would like to think so.
Exactly.
If they're smart, they will.
You like to think so. And now in that case, I think that's where the school should get involved. Yes. Because I'm with Trey. At that point, I don't know if the companies don't give a damn, to be honest with you.
They did their part. They got the kid the money. Now they get to watch and enjoy.
Yeah, true.
So, I mean, this has been amazing, and I do want to thank both of you guys for coming in, and both of you guys did a lot of clarifying the NIL for me, and I'm sure for listeners as well. I mean, the NIL is it's so broad that you could take it any kind of way. even if you just read one article about it, you can take it so many different ways. So thank you guys for coming on and clearing that up. And you guys answered the questions greatly. Wicks, again, thank you for coming to the show. We always appreciate you.
All love, brother. All love.
Again, guys, if you do not know, he is Lift Off County Prep on Twitter, and he's also the host of Film Doesn't Lie. So please give him a listen, give him a shout out, and don't be afraid to comment under his post as well, man. You never know, you might get yourself into a heated debacle.
Yep, light him up. Light him up.
$18,000 kid, I can't do the show without you. Appreciate you for being on.
Yeah,
Steve.
I thought it was a good topic too. It seems like it's the hot topic right now.
It is. That's why I really wanted to clarify it, because a lot of people are still confused. It's just too brand new right now. So
Yeah,
so it was a good thing we touched it up on it, and I'm sure we're going to touch up on it again as the season goes on, because it's so new. You never know what's going to happen, man.
yeah.
So thank you guys for being part of it. You guys, all my listeners, don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, comment. We are NBA Cast on all social media platforms. That's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Whatever you think, I'm on it. I'm on it. We own it. So don't forget to give us a listen. Shout us out. So thank you guys. We'll see you next time.
Deuces.